Once Lizra had settled down in her quarters for the night, she pulled out her interface pad and looked over the message Zete embedded for her. The captain was hesitant to open it, wondering what it could possibly contain that might have worried her crewmate to such an extent. However, her own curiosity needed to be satiated, and she clicked on the folder to reveal its contents. Most of it consisted of old photographs and recordings of things that seemed irrelevant and disconnected from one another, a glimpse into the jumbled inner workings of Zate's dispersed consciousness. At the top was a document titled Human that grabbed her attention. She scrolled through it once, glossing over the attached pictures and references before going back to read the full report. Captain, we have compiled all known instances mentioning a species called human from the historical archives and any other relevant accounts from other databases. Below, you shall find all the information that was gathered during our query. It is our recommendation that this should not be shared with anyone outside of the crew, as spreading such sensitive materials could lead us into even greater danger. We found that there is no official core documentation of a species categorized as human in this galaxy, or any other accounts for that matter. The existence of the species is speculative at best, persisting through rumors from unverified sources. They are either not native to our galaxy, or they have hidden their existence to the point that it could be disputed entirely, a galaxy-wide cryptid, if you will. The reports supplied for our original mission only explained the potential to find exotic technology of unknown origin that could likely be linked to the Illyrian collapse. It appears that what little information we had been given by the on the origins of human only classified it as a potential weapon. Our own inquiry places the furthest mention of human being in hidden Illyrian military documents that predate the migration of your species. After gaining access to such files, we found pictures and video logs that were sourced from the surviving members of the Illyrian species. Though documents related to the Illyrian collapse have been completely expunged from galactic records some 700 years ago, what we managed to find proved troubling. Whoever attempted to bury these files went to great lengths to ensure that they would never surface again. Originally, our goal was to investigate as to why human was found at this facility, but we were not satisfied with the results. We cross-referenced the symbols found on human's armor with surviving collapse pictures that slipped through the Corps' attempted censorship. The symbols returned for a match on bridge feeds of Illyrian civilian transport vessels shortly before their destruction during migration. The symbols from human's armor shared many similarities with those of ships that hunted down the last remaining Illyrian at the time. Though for unknown reasons, the attacks on the Generation ship ceased, allowing your species to survive migration. After further investigation, we were able to find corrupted video logs dated 1 year pre-migration. To restore more of the corrupted data we collected would take weeks of our full computational power. Below is one of the recordings we were able to salvage without a great deal of effort. Be advised, it is rather graphic. Lizra played the video and watched intently, wondering what it would reveal about the fate of her people all those years ago. It was an amateur recording of a classical Illyrian town, done hastily through the window of a building overlooking a destroyed city square. A group of Illyrian were huddled together in the center, maybe 30 strong, and most of them were either crying or in a catatonic state. A group of soldiers who looked identical to human paced up and down the line, picking out individuals who were quickly ushered away from the group and out of frame. Once finished, there were maybe 20 Illyrian left in the square. The humans present turned their weapons on the group and proceeded to execute the helpless little Illyrian before them. One of the soldiers turned towards the camera, pointing its long arm in the direction of the camera. Lizra turned away and exited from the recording, unable to bear watching more. The captain continued on with reading the document, hoping there was an explanation for what she had just witnessed. Tic Tac had never mentioned that the missions human was involved in were against her own people. Perhaps that was one of many pieces of information he had elected not to divulge. She pressed onward, wondering what else Zate was able to find. Upon recovering this file, we were not able to discover any more regarding human or its counterparts from the Illyrian archives dated pre-migration. From here, we began scouring anything on the wider network that possessed a match for the symbols on humans' armor once more. The only examples we uncovered fell in the range of 10 to 200 years ago. They stemmed from worlds that failed in their uprising during the Outer Ring rebellions or accidents that took place during core control. Attached are the 2 recordings that came back with matches for human symbols. She was hesitant to watch another clip, but Lizra needed to persevere for the sake of her crew. She played the next video and watched closely. This one was from a security camera of what appeared to be an installation used by the rebels on the Gould homeworld. It depicted multiple Goulds working around various computer systems, while others were occupied with different tasks around the room. A door out of view was blown from its hinges, and a bipedal creature donned in the same armor as human entered the room. It was nearly identical in color to its surroundings, making it virtually impossible to differentiate from the background. The camera froze for a moment and zoomed in on the creature. The picture was grainy, but the magnified image made the markings on its chest visible. They were an exact match for the ones on human. When it resumed, most everyone within was shot down in seconds of noticing the creature. Those who sought cover found it did them little good as they were methodically executed by the intruder. A second later, the feed cut to static. Lizra opened the last video without waiting a second longer. This time it displayed a small village, in the remote part of a world she didn't recognize. Around the village were various stockpiles of supplies, along with small freighter ships being repaired. Younglings ran around and played in the streets as parents went about their work. A large explosion rocked the town, leveling one of the buildings at the top of the frame. When the dust settled, she was able to make out a figure just as before, sporting the exact same armor as her new friend. This one single-handedly cleared the streets as ruthlessly as the last, killing one after another indiscriminately. Everyone in the village was shot down as they tried to flee, left writhing in the dirt to bleed out and die. And just before the camera went dead, it zoomed in, allowing Lizra to once again pick out the all-too-familiar white markings, the markings of a human. She closed out of the last feed and finished reading what Zate had compiled for her. Working with what we were able to gather, we have come to our own conclusion in regard to the origins of humans. We speculate them to originate from the same system as the Illyrian, but according to what survives of Illyrian history, that should not be possible. We are still working to find out how that could be the case, and exactly how these humans brought themselves into the galaxy. We have concluded that they are the ones responsible for the near extinction of your species and the source of the corruption in the core, yet do not know the extent of their influence on the wider situation. After the fall of the Illyrian species, these humans must have begun taking up operations as the enforcers for the core, working outside of official jurisdiction. The one that currently resides within our ship may not have contact with the others of his kind, but it is clear to us that the species poses a great danger to the sovereignty of the galaxy as a whole. We cannot discern the full scope of humans' physical capabilities. However, Tic Tac has technical abilities that far surpass our own, as we have learned from our initial encounter with him. We will continue to uncover any possible information that may pertain to human and his counterparts. We would advise you to exercise extreme caution when divulging any information to human or his companion program, Tic Tac. We recommend you refrain from any further interactions with them and jettison them from the cargo hold at your earliest opportunity for our own safety. Once she had finished reading the report, Lizra threw her interface pad at the foot of her bed and tried to stop herself from trembling. Tic Tac and human had seemed genuine in the short time she had known them. She knew they did terrible things in the past, but they regretted them now and are trying to be better from it. As much as she wanted to believe that he was no longer connected with the same people who nearly wiped out her species, the evidence was overwhelming. Tic Tac had told her that they sacrificed everything to escape from the original humans they had been with, and that under no circumstances they want to go back to that life. She wanted to take his word for it and trust them, as dangerous as that might be. But if she were to confront the two of them directly, and they were still secretly connected to the group that attacked her people, then they would almost certainly kill her for finding out. Lizra decided to bide her time and see what more she could uncover about human before rushing to such a drastic decision. Lizra tried to go to sleep after reading the dossier, but couldn't stop herself from trembling in fear when she thought about the recordings. The images from the execution of her people wouldn't leave her mind, trying in vain to ease herself to sleep. She got little rest that night, her thoughts continuously turning over and over in her mind, unrelenting. One part of her trusted their intentions and told her she could help this new friend with whatever they were dealing with, but another was starting to believe there really was a monster aboard her ship.